بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brother and sister, welcome to the real life program. Today we will talk about Islamic finance or Islamic financing. Therefore, I'm pleased to welcome Ustad and expert Jama'a Nabil to our episode today. Mr. Jama'a, good evening.
Good evening, and thanks a lot for invite me in this.
Thanks a lot. And in my other side, left side, of course, Professor Belghit Mohammed, you're welcome to the another new subject.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be with Ustad Jama'a Nabil. I'm really honored to be with both of you.
Thank you.
In this channel. Hopefully this channel will contribute to implement many of the teachings of Islam.
Of course, talking about Islamic financing is not new, because Islamic financing comes with Din Islami, the first time coming by Diyana al-Islamiyya. Especially we talked 2 weeks ago about the Islamic finance, and we said we discussed about the ayah of Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was asked to make solution to sort out the problem of his nation that time, and he gave them like rules. He gave them more than 12 rules about how to keep financial in that time.
Long-term planning.
Yeah, and
long-term planning.
This is the base of Islam, because Islam doesn't look just 2 paths or 3 paths, but he looked for the long-term planning, because that Islam is means all the event of Islam has a long way to explore. For that, I will ask, of course, in economy, all people talk about places, talk about people, talk about human resources, talk about, it's a lot of items, but the main items is based on the Islam itself. It's, our Islam has a lot of rules, especially when we talk about economy, and we are sick of that. I will address my talk to our expert Jama'a Nabil. What can we say about that subject?
I begin with questions. How to understand Islamic finance? The Islamic finance has built on 5 pillars. When we build a house, generally we build with 4 pillars.
Yeah.
But Islamic finance is built with 5 pillars. That it means that this finance, we have no negative in these systems. And the only religions who speak in the world, the only system, economic system in the world who speak about money and the rule of money, how we spend money and how we win and get money, you find it only in the Quran, in the economic system, and you cannot find it in the other systems. And then the 5 pillars of Islamic finance, now all system banking in the crisis of 28, in the crisis of 28 world crisis, we see that the greatest bank in the world, Lehman Brothers, has done bankruptcy, and the only system, financial system, who don't go to the bankruptcy is Islamic finance. Why? Because this system is based on Sharia and the Quran, and the Quran is a book, it's holy book of the God.
Yeah, of course. And this is what make Islamic bank and Islamic financing very strong.
Very strong. And when the crisis was in 2008 in USA. The big investor who has filed in the economy system of USA and of liberal economy system, when we go to the Pope of America and the great investor, and they ask him to help him where we can invest his money, he tell the Pope of the church, he tell him go to the Islamic finance to solve your problem, because he know that only until the Bible they speak about the one pillars of Islamic systems, interest, banish the interest and banish the gharar and banish al-maysir, and certainly, and banish to invest in the bad sector, in the sector who is not tangible, and we see in the law, financing law in USA in 2013, when the President Trump come to the White House and want to do modification in financing system built by Obama, the two modification that Trump has put them in the modification was the two pillar of Islamic finance. And now we see in the world and financing system has a magical option to solve the economic problem in the world.
When you were talking about the economy, I do remember when we were in London, and we had that, all the Algerian people had the Lloyds Bank. That time when after I think 2004, maybe 2004, all the Algerian, all the Muslim people who got the name means Muslim names, Lloyds Bank send them send them paper, now send them a letter to the house and saying if you are interested by Islamic banking, just come over to the Lloyds Bank and we will change another alternative. Yeah. We will change that to you, and we will deal with you as you want, because you are Muslim. In that way, I did resume that Islamic banking that time was the right solution for the corruptions, for the corrupt bank, for a lot of problems of the bank. And when I went there up, I asked the manager, I said to him, why did you call us for that? He said to us, because we know that the only way to save your money, and this is the way that you save your money. And it was Lloyds Bank, who their manager are pure English, are not Muslim at all. In that way, I just want to ask Ustad Belghait, Islamic way of economy is based on what? Is it based in general like ideas of Islam?
Praise is due to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet, his family and his companions. Thank you, brother. But I think we need to prepare people to understand the Islamic financing or the Islamic economic system, to tell them that Islam has its own vision about, first of all, about wealth, tharwa, and about money. Because I do believe that there are many people who think that Islam encourages poverty and discourages to be rich. Because there are people who think that poor people, still based maybe on hadith which is, I'm not sure whether it is authentic or not, that poor people will enter the paradise before the rich people 500 years before. But I think this kind of vision is not really according to the Islamic teachings or the Islamic perspective. How Islam sees wealth. كيف ينظر الإسلام إلى الثروة وإلى المال. Right. Maybe some people think that money in Islam is cursed, as it happens maybe in other tendencies or religions. But we have the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where the Prophet said that there are two people beloved by Allah Ta'ala: al-ghaniyu al-shakir wal-faqiru al-sabir. A thankful rich person
and the patient poor.
A patient poor.
Yeah.
Right. So both are considered in Islam. That means Islam doesn't underestimate the rich people compared with the poor people, because a Muslim also can become rich and become wealthy and healthy, right? Wealthy if, first of all, this is another rule on which Islam builds its economic system, which is the concept of halal and haram. The concept of halal.
Yeah, you
and
have
haram.
to know from where you're taking your money,
مبدأ
and
الحلال
from where and to
الحرام.
where you expend your money.
Yes, the lawful and the unlawful, right? The permitted sources how to become wealthy, and the unlawful, the prohibited sources to become wealthy. We have الكسب المشروع والكسب غير المشروع.
And this is what we call ethical value.
Yes.
I just don't want to forget it. That
Yeah,
word.
sure, brother. So we have first of all, how Islam sees wealth. What is the vision of Islam towards wealth? It is not prohibited in Islam to become wealthy,
Yeah, of
to
course.
become rich, to build your own house, to build your country, to develop your country, to have your own industries, to have your own developed lands of agriculture, to eat the food you produce with your hands. That's why maybe previously I have mentioned in our previous program how the Prophet said, وَإِنَّ نَبِيَّ اللَّهِ دَاوُودْ كَانَ يَأْكُلُ مِنْ عَمَلِ يَدِهِ.
Yes.
The Prophet David was eating from the food which was produced by his hands, his work, right? And the Prophet said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الشَّابَ الْمُحْتَرِفِ وَيَكْرَهُ الْمَكْفِيَّ الْفَارِغِ, which means Allah loves a person who got work, a job, maybe a
Professional.
profession,
Yeah.
right? Who is professional in one field of life, either mechanic or electronic work, or that means anything you do, especially with your hands, right? الشاب المحترف, الحرفة, profession. ويكره, and Allah hates a person who only sits without any work, waiting for others to feed him, right? In Islam, this is disliked actually. That's why Allah in Islam, the Islamic religion, respects rich people from the halal way, the permitted way. What is the permitted way? It is a hard work, your own work, right? That's why we mentioned last time the story of Yusuf. تزرعون سبع سنين دأبا. تزرعون, you cultivate. And the verb here in the verse is in the present tense, which means continuity.
If we can
Right.
read this ayah, the ayah said hard work. When it said تزرعون سبع سنين دأبا,
Continuously.
means you have to work. When we
Very
talk about
hard.
when we talk about continuity, means we talk about hard work because you follow that work. You
Sure.
you don't have any rest. تزرعون سبع سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروا.
Further.
And
Yes.
after that you will save. This is a techniques, if we can call it
Hard work and saving. You remember I used the word of wastage, tabdhir, israf, right? That's why in Islam we dislike wasting either time or money or wealth or products or lands products. For example, as some countries they throw potato products or fruits products to keep the price always higher, to keep the prices always higher, unfortunately, right?
And you just remind me, there's some countries they eat from their waste. They recycle their waste. Nearly 35% of the wastage is recycled. And when we talk about, I did read one of the articles saying 50,000 of waste can light 150,000 of house. يعني 50,000 طن من ال
50,000
يعني
ton.
من الدشي يمكن أن ينير أكثر من 150,000 منزل بيت، يعني ينير بالضوء with the light. You light it.
You want to
when we speak about waste money and forecast for the future, we see all the program economic and system economic in the world, all the forecast is based on 3 years, 5 years, not then 15 years as Yusuf alayhi salam.
Yes.
Then for that only the system, the economic system and financial system in Algeria from 1962 to 1990 is not based about moral, financial and about Islamic as the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he say in the system of economy now we see in Algeria we suffer from bureaucracy, for corruption, for wasting money. And the Prophet about bureaucracy, he say la darara wa la dirar. We have to no harming and no bureaucracy and no corruptions. That this point is missing in our system, economic system and financial system. And now the new Islamic systems rest on 5 pillars. First pillars was entered, is prohibited in the financial system, like Bible, the Quran, prohibition, usurious transactions. The second one, speculation, in prohibited, that we see in Algeria a lot of speculation in all goods and all in Ramadan we see, and the third, no investment in sector considering immoral, and the fourth point, obligation to share profit and loss between the bank,
between the bank and
between the bank and the shareholders. That with and the 5 is obligation to back up any financial transaction on tangible assets. The crisis of 2008 was based on the financial transaction which is not tangible. Then the big problem in America.
You were mentioning.
If you don't mind, please.
I just don't forget what I was going to say.
Please.
When Professor Jama was talking, expert Jama was talking about, was mentioned Yusuf alayhi salam.
Yes.
We have to say something. Maybe we didn't notice about it. 15 years, and how many people was on that time? Because if we do compare about people, because when you do the plan because of the people. Because of the people, and this is
now we never seen
one of the most
because
most
brother,
interesting pillars. But when you do the plan of 15 years,
Yeah.
means, and you've got no more than 500 person,
Yeah.
and you do for 4 years, and you've got a million of people. I would just want to go straight on to the brains and the mind of Yusuf alayhi salam, and it was wahy min Allah Azza wa Jal. It was a revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal. Because when you are 500 or 500 family or 50 family, you don't do the plan for 15 years.
Yes.
If you do the plan for 15 years, means you are really you have been saved from all trouble.
Because there is a strategic planning and a tactic planning,
Yes.
right? More the crisis takes a long time, more you need enough time to overcome the crisis.
Yeah.
That's why the Prophet Joseph suggested 15 years planning, long-term planning, because the crisis was for 7 years, right? Just before I forget, the third rule we need to understand, to prepare ourselves to understand what Dr. Jama will maybe elaborate more, is the concept of wealth. Wealthy in Islam is considered as amana, trust.
Yeah.
Trust. Yeah.
الثروة المال هو أمانة. Allah mentioned in the Holy Quran, وأنفقوا مما جعلكم مستخلفين فيه.
You are responsible.
Spend, give charity from what we have substituted you as vicegerent to spend it, right? استخلفكم في المال.
Means
It's a
if you
trust.
lose it, you
It's a
lose
trust.
yourself. Yeah.
In the hadith, the Prophet said, إن الدنيا حلوة خضرة وإن الله مستخلفكم فيها. This world is sweet and beautiful and verdant, right?
You know, if we read it psychologically, means you are psychologically given enough.
You are entrusted.
Yes.
مستخلفكم فيها فينظر كيف تعملون. To, as a trial, how are you going to use this wealth, in which way you are going to use it, to spend it. In the other hadith narrated by Imam al-Tirmidhi, where the Prophet said, لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة, just you stand up on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection, before Allah, He will ask us 4 questions. Your life, how did you spend your time? Your health, how did you use it?
Yes.
Then your wealth.
Wealth, yeah.
2 questions about health. From where you got it,
Yeah, got it.
how did you spend it?
Did
Yeah.
it, yeah.
What were your expenses, right? And your knowledge. What have you done with your knowledge? These 4 questions are actually the essential to change your life,
Yes.
to become a positive person in this world, right? That's why these 3 concepts are very important. The 4th one has been mentioned by Dr. Jama, which is the prohibition of riba. تحريم الربا, which is speculation actually.
Speculation.
Right? استغلال.
Until in the Bible and in the Torah.
In all
books,
monotheistic
yeah.
religions.
Yes, yes.
كل أديان التوحيد.
Yes.
In all monotheistic religions, riba has been prohibited, especially in the Holy Quran.
Now
right? You have many verses, but God, Allah, has permitted the sale, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ, and forbidden the riba, usury, right? And God, Allah, destroys, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى
وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَةِ.
وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَةِ.
You see, this is
the
the
riba.
when we talk
and
about
increases
contradictions,
charity.
not contradictions.
Right.
You see,
raise charity.
صدقات raised.
Yes, sure.
ويمحق الربا.
No,
And which is raising,
الربا
which-
destroys,
thanks
eliminates.
lot, which is raising will be
when
damaged.
we see today with the with Islamic finance. Also, in alternative to the crisis of COVID, we see in the reserve, Federal Reserve of America now with crisis, and in the Central Bank of Europe, we decrease the interest from 2 to 0. What that means? Decrease the interest. From when we have crisis in the world, we see the Central Bank of America decrease the interest from 2 points to 0. And the European Bank Central, they decrease the interest. In Japan, the Central Bank of Japan, when we have the crisis, they decrease the interest from -1. Then we gives القرض الحسن. We give you credit loan with 1 million, and when we reimburse, you reimburse less than 1 million.
When you refund,
we go to the Islamic finance, the solution. When we speak now,
you say when you were talking about the first pillar, I do remember the first pillar. Say the ban on interest.
Ban of interest, yeah.
Because if you ban the interest,
actually, brother,
means you will get a lot of things when you ban the interest.
Actually, many experts in the world today, many experts know that riba, usury, maybe I can call it, is the virus of the world economic system. Maybe I can mention Joseph Stiglitz in his book, The Deception of Globalization, خيبات العولمة. You know, he got a Nobel Prize in economy, Joseph Stiglitz. Many of the scholars and specialists in economy know actually that riba, usury or speculation, is one of the main viruses which destroy the world economy and let the world economy face in each period, in every period, a very tough crisis.
Now, even when Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Quran gave example. He say about riba, say كالذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. It's like the one who is got from devil, or the meaning of that means riba in all ways.
You know that
even if you take one person, even if you take one person,
0.1 is prohibited.
Because it's like الخمر ما أسكر كثيره فقليله.
There is no sin where Allah Almighty Allah has declared war. Like riba, speculation. You see this verse? O ye who believe, fear God and quit what remains of the riba. And if you are indeed believers, but if you do it not, take notice of war from God and His Messenger. The scholars, the interpreters of this verse,
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا. Means that even
يأذنوا بحرب من الله ورسوله.
If you fight,
this scholar said no other sin is prohibited in the Quran with a notice of war from God and His Messenger. The traditions of the Prophet Muhammad contains several statements that condemns riba and consider its practices as one of the gravest sins.
Means the most gravest.
That invoke a curse, a la'na, of wrath, al-harb, from God. In one of the sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, the Prophet said, the wrath of God is on the taker of riba, الذي يأخذه, the curse. The war is declared by God against the taker of riba, its giver, الذي يعطيه, المعطي, its writer, and its two witnesses. All those Allah declares war against them.
Because no one of them stand against. Because if you got these two witnesses saying, no, you're not allowed to do it, maybe that man or that person wouldn't do it.
For that, also in our constitution in Algeria,
Yes.
we have Article 8 or 9. He speaks about interest, and we tell كل لا يحل لأي مؤسسة أيا كانت أن تخل بالنظام الإسلامي. We have articles who speak about banish interest in our constitution.
No one is allowed to take that
to use
interest and to use speculation.
And when we see the economy, why the economy of Algeria not success from 1962 until 2020, because we use riba in our system, system banking until today.
Now how about if we
we declare war to Allah? How you want to succeed to win a war against Allah Ta'ala?
Now with
it's
the
not
new,
logical.
With the new system, with the new politics system,
Yes.
if we can say that, and with the new Algeria, can we suggest to the to the state, for example, suggest them the
today, with the new,
because we already talk about the economic recovery, and we said if they want to recover this economy,
the president suggests to go to the Islamic finance and using to finance our economy with the Islamic system as murabaha, musharaka, istithna, istisqa, when we don't see interest in this contract.
I just remember there is one of the scholars, he's famous, he write fiqh al-buyu', and when he was talking, because Mr. Jama'a, the thing is, when we talk about the Islamic finance, we need to talk about al-buyu', fiqh al-buyu', because the trades, and everyone of us knows about that, the trades has if we can say 4 or 5 pillars. And these 5 pillars, which is it's called 5 P's, which is people, promotions, places, prices. All these 5 pillars, maybe people doesn't ignore them and doesn't give interest to them. But the main thing is when you give interest to the people, because people is a human resources. People is not people is a human resources. When you've got a lot of people and you've got quality and quantity of the people, you can develop your economy. When you've got places, which is factories, we were talking about recycling. When you've got these recycling things and you've got factories, you don't need to import anything from outside. Maybe you need to import some parts, not all the things that you want to import it. And
in our financial system from 1962 to 1990, we constate, we remarks that the above responsible is immoral to waste money and corruption, and we see now in the jurisdiction of Algeria there are a lot of problem because we don't prepare the responsible of Algeria to the moral ethics of Islam.
And this is what missing. If we maybe Ustad Blaghit will talk about it, because when we talk about the basic rules of our religion of Islam, on that the first things we will find is a moral, as you said, and controlling. Controlling is not against trust. If I control you, it doesn't mean I don't trust you, but control, maybe you will do mistake. Maybe you will do mistake. I've got trust on you, I will trust you, but I need to control you. If you do some mistake, maybe not in purpose you did it. For this, if Mr. Blaghit can talk about this basic, very ethical value.
If you want to apply any system, right, you have to appoint to apply it trustworthy people.
Yes.
First of all. Second thing, you have to appoint people who believe in that system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is the
That's
main
why
thing,
you have
yeah.
to prepare.
Yeah, you can't do some people doesn't believe on some
Yeah.
things and you put them as you know.
That I wonder why. I wonder why Malik bin Nabi,
alayhi
peace be
rahmatullah.
upon him, right, mentioned the conditions of any renaissance.
Yeah.
Right, al-insan al-kamil, time and al-insan and land or the universe as
Yeah, I was reading that insan and nisf
Yeah.
insan came.
yes,
Competency, yeah.
Al-Buti comments
Yeah.
on these conditions of any renaissance, right, or any renewal of our civilization. If you don't have the human being who believes in the Islamic concepts, you cannot give the Islamic system to somebody you cannot trust,
Yeah, of course.
and you want him to be successful.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Now,
Yes,
in
please.
our system, financial system, we see missing of using Islamic instrument as sukuk.
Yeah.
With problem of
Docs.
COVID-19, you see sukuk is sukuk in the equivalent of obligation, where the interest become a profit planned in advance with almost zero risk. Now, in with problem of COVID-19, the lot of society and firm in Algeria suffer from financing, and we don't found financing in the classical system, financing banking system, because you have no liquidity now, and you can use a sukuk as alternative. But when we see in the Gulf Persic, on in the Kuwait and in Dubai, and the Islamic banking has do emission of sukuk to solve the problem, and this is a big and solution for our crisis now. And we don't see the Islamic now the Islamic bank in Algeria and the classic bank of Algeria use this instrument. Why? And for that, the president in the recovery of economy, he speak about financial Islamic to give better solution to this crisis now.
I think this is what can sort out the problem, because if you use that docs like what you said, you talk about, if you use it, you will use as like alternative, like badil, ما يمكن, what we call
yes.
badil. And when you, because when we talk about alternative is a concept which means doesn't stay for a long time. This is just to stand off, going to the firing and
momentaneously,
going to, yeah, you've got a moment to use it, and after that you will bring it back. But the thing is, to do so, you have to have a good system, and this is the main things. I know if you gather all the scholars, economic scholars on that, they will find it, but they need to work hard for it, because Islamic way of financing, it is not based just on the working or duties, but it's based on the believing. You have to believe on it, because this is kind of trust, this is kind of believing, this is kind of confidence, etc.
Even Islam, if you give it to somebody who doesn't believe in it, it will not be successful.
Yeah, of course.
That's why Al-Quran repeats many times, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, or you who believe.
Yeah.
Because you need, if you want to be successful in applying the teachings of Islam, you need, first of all, you need a strong belief. You need faith. Second thing, regarding the financial products in Sharia, there are characteristics we have to take in consideration. The first characteristic mentioned by our scholars is it must be morally sound. Morally sound. That means that an Islamic financing institution cannot use its resources its resources to support drugs, alcohol, gambling, etc., environmentally harmful products, and or any other production, a distribution of any material, a service that doesn't have a humanly acceptable ethical foundation. In this regard, Islamic financing is very similar to what is known as ethical investment. Yet, the following points will show that Islamic financing is in fact more demanding than ethical investment. That means any investment without ethical respect, without
أخلاقيات, yeah.
right, without respecting ethics, cannot be considered as an Islamic financing product. Second thing, the principle of Sharia permissibility, which means anything we use in financial system, it needs to have a permission from a Sharia itself, that you can do it, because permissibility refers to matter that the Islamic law requires. These include all products we can use. You cannot do trading in prohibited food or whatsoever, since it is not permitted by the Sharia.
You mean you have to scan all that things?
Sure.
Inside the ethical machine, like you've got machine which is ethical value, and you scan it. If that machine accept it, you can go with. If not, you have to.
In the new rule of Islamic Bank in Algeria, the rule where Algeria Bank set in our economy, all Islamic bank now must have a Sharia board must have Sharia board constituted of four scholarship ulama who see all projects and give the permit,
his fatwa, his statement
in the bank, in the self bank. All bank has
Sharia council,
Sharia board.
This has been applied already in Malaysia. I have seen that in Malaysia. I have even some friends of mine
until in Algeria
who are consultants for the banks.
I think in this country, Indonesia, Malaysia, they went for the Islamic banking. And if you talk to their scholar by internet, or even the scholar who comes sometimes do the colloques and seminary here, they will tell you how our economy was down until we discover a new way of economy, which is Islamic economy. And now all our banks, because if we talk about the bank, you were talking about bank, and you are expert, you are more than us knowing and have knowledge about the banking. When we talk about banking, Islamic banking has a lot of rules which guide you to the right way.
In the crisis of 2008, only Islamic bank has no lose his assets. If you compare the classical bank in the USA, in the Europe, we lost a lot of assets and liabilities in his balance sheet, and the only Islamic bank who don't lose his assets, and only the Pope 15 Ratzinger, when the big investor go to him and demand him to help them to solve the problem and to solve his assets, he tell him, go to the Islamic system and bank. You can lost anything.
That's what I wanted to remind our brothers who are watching us or following our program. I think our one of our challenges is that sometimes we hesitate to apply something which is successful.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
You know, we hesitate, even though we have some experiences which are successful, maybe like Malaysia, like Indonesia, like Turkey, maybe, right? You know, we hesitate until maybe the Western people will apply it and succeed in relieving their crisis, right? And then we will decide.
Yes,
right.
good.
We will decide.
And this is what I think. This is what happened to us when we were talking about last 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about this recovery, economic recovery.
Yeah.
We were talking about importing and asking our people, our scholars, to come over from there to sort out the problem here, and if they want to stay, they will stay. Otherwise, if they will come back from, and this is what happening. If we've got some things here which is right, which is good, which is nice, which is beauty, which is pretty, if we've got all that, why don't we use it? Stand off hesitating, as you said, or doesn't having trust. If we need to trust ourselves, or trust the others, because all these things you were talking about these 4 pillars, and I just write down one of the pillars or 2 of the pillars, saying the profits and loss sharing principle, or the other one, which is the assets backing principle. These 2 things, we all knows about it. And we know it is not right for us to do it. And what is right for us to do it, alternative way, is the Islamic financing. Not because Islamic financing as a name or calling, but because of the component of Islamic financing. We don't have a people who will thief the money. We don't have a people who doesn't trust. We don't have a people who don't control. Everything is under control. Why don't you use it in all ways? And this is questions to the experts.
We don't use it because in Algeria we have no trust on ourselves. We have habit to import systems. All system of Algeria, economic systems, is being from Russia, from Europe, from America. All this economic system from 1962 until today. Now Algeria should go to the new system, the new economic system.
And this is, I think, this is the hope. This is the hope
created here with our brothers here in Algeria, because we have 30,000 diploma in Algeria. Every year, who sort every year,
and we've got all this.
We have all the conditions to succeed. If we want,
but application is over.
But I think some people are affected by Islamophobia. Anything which is related with Islam
is
Islamic, is scary. Actually, we need to
now I think
change. We need to reassure people that Islam is not scary. Right, and Islam oppositely to that, Islam is peace and security to everyone.
And the lesson of
Islam doesn't begin. Islam in its system, either its economic system or other systems, Islam doesn't begin by punishing people. Islam begins by forgiveness.
Forgiveness,
right. Afallahu amma salam. If you are sincere enough, you have honesty enough to begin a new page with Allah, with your people, with your society, Islam forgives you the past. You need to be sincere only, and to work hard to develop your nation, right? And do not be scared that anything which is related with Islam,
even if we talk about da'wah, it's starting from Targhib, means
that's why some people
you have to make people liking these things before saying if you don't do it.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we speak about economy, we tell you la darara wa la dirar. and
no harm, no
yeah,
harming.
yeah.
As you
And-
don't like to be harmed, do not
Yeah.
harm the others.
Yeah, and
Right.
and when we go to control some responsible in the Arabic country, when we arrived, he tell to the responsible, أحسنوا, first أحسنوا, secondly أعدلوا. Then we don't find this in our economy.
We have to, hopefully, in our new Algeria today
Inshallah,
and for next, inshallah, we
Yeah,
will
we
we will
have
see
the-
the
we have the
Islamic
hope,
banking, we will
and
see
we
the Islamic
do not
financial.
desperate.
Yeah,
We
no.
do not desperate.
And we do trust
we need
all our government
we need,
for that.
We need to trust and to believe strongly in ourselves first of all, right? And I think why in every field, not only in financing
Yeah, not
system or
only in all
economy.
system.
Why we
in
when
social,
we talk
social
about
system.
yes,
In
when we talk about
juridic
science,
system.
Okay, I've been called to end the sessions.
yes, when
Yeah.
we talk about
Very
science,
sweet, very
science-
sweet show
science discoveries.
with both of you.
Yes.
With both of you, Professor Expert Jamal Nabil, Dr. Belghiti Mohammed. It's very sweet from both of you.
Thank
And
you.
I couldn't end in the session, but I have to. Dear brother and sister, hopefully you enjoy our discussions, especially the discussion was about the Islamic financial. I will see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.